a place called Ronsdalen, Nora and her father were enjoying the mountain scenery while hiking Troll Peak. Troll Peak itself had a legend that told the story of the lives of trolls. As long as people were willing to believe, they could surely see them all. "20 years after that moment, Nora had grown up and become a professor of archaeology. After 6 months, she and a cord managed to find a fossil on the coast of Norway. Meanwhile, in a different place, workers were carrying out their tasks, building a railway through the Dover Mountains. They paid no heed to the local residents, who disagreed with the project, and even used explosives in front of them to speed up the work. This incident prompted the military base to send troops to assess the situation. Aircraft cameras showed large explosion craters and some strange foot-shaped depressions. Knowing about this peculiarity, the general contacted the mayor to ask him to find someone skilled in investigating these anomalies. Without a doubt, Nora was chosen by them. Instead of asking Nora to address national security issues, she followed and went to the military headquarters in Oslo. Here, she met Andreas, the Prime Minister's advisor, who invited her to a meeting of important people. Then, the general explained that the reports he received indicated that the strange events in the Dover Mountains were still related to geological phenomena. Given that the events had created a large crater and some large depressions in the mountainous area, some scientists believe that it had occurred naturally due to the conditions of the mountains and the surrounding environment. However, according to Nora, it wasn't the case. After viewing amateur footage from one of the protesters, Nora believed that the roars during the explosion and the foot-shaped depressions were the work of trolls. In the mountainous area, there was also an elderly couple. Enjoying their twilight years together, suddenly the ground shook, and the roars grew louder as they approached their home. After successfully hiding, they found a part of their house destroyed as if it had been kicked by a giant creature. Thanks to Nora's convincing words earlier, she was made their scientific advisor. Now Nora, accompanied by Andreas, was heading to Lesja. Upon arrival, Nora's previous statements became even more convincing as Captain Hole found the ruined home of the elderly couple and giant footprints scattered around it. The footprints originated from the valley and disappeared at the mountain's edge. The elderly couple testified that they had seen a shadow pass their house, as if the mountain had floated past their home. Nora didn't find any evidence other than the leftover footprints. She then reaffirmed the situation by visiting the spot where the footprints vanished, using heat scanner technology. Hole found nothing. It wasn't possible for a creature of that size to disappear like that. Instantly, Nora suggested that the creature might be capable of camouflage. So Nora visited another house, and to her surprise, it was her own father who had been living in the vicinity of the mountains all this time. To this day, her father was still researching the existence of trolls in his ramshackle home. He was searching for the truth about them, but hadn't found anything yet. Until Nora came with evidence of their existence through the amateur protesters' video recording. Her father became even more convinced of the presence of trolls that once roamed Norway's land around 1,000 years ago. Now, the mythical creatures had returned, and her father invited them to find out more and prove the existence of trolls. They returned to the spot where the last footprints disappeared. Her father immediately began searching and examining the soil around. Nora also briefly discussed her father's past, losing his job because of his belief in trolls. However, it wasn't just his fantasy, because right behind them, with the weather turning overcast, a pair of eyes blinked. Andreas and Hole, who were present, witnessed the truth about the troll creature and immediately took flight to avoid its wrath. A creature standing 40 to 50 meters tall made of rock and earth appeared before them. Hole also contacted the central military base to show them the troll recording. It made sense why no one could track the biology of troll creatures or find their fossils, because trolls were made of earth and stone. Nora's father insisted that the troll's appearance after 1,000 years was due to the underground project that would pass through the mountain, disrupting nature. Nora hadn't determined what action to take against the troll yet, but the government, along with military officials, decided to eliminate the trolls by sending armed forces. Her father assured everyone that even if they were successfully removed using weapons, nature would surely retaliate, considering that trolls were created by nature itself. Then Nora approached Hull and asked him to join the force. Dozens of companies consisting of soldiers carrying various heavy weapons, including tanks, were deployed to eliminate the troll. The top brass watched their actions at the central headquarters via prepared drones. While waiting for the troll's appearance, Nora and her father took the time to exchange stories and reminisce about their past adventures when they used to explore together. After years of separation and not talking, Nora and her father were now harmonious again. Their harmony coincided with the appearance of the troll emerging from the forest, approaching the military position. Shortly thereafter, the general ordered his troops to open fire, followed by another attack directed at the troll's body. Various attacks were launched, but unfortunately, none of the shots had any effect on the troll's body, which could heal itself. The situation turned, and now the troll began to attack and destroy anything in its path. Although they managed to hide, the troll could still sense their presence through the blood of one of the soldiers. Then her father tried to calm the troll, and the effort seemed to work. However, due to one of the soldiers launching another attack, her father was also swept away by the troll's tail. Even in his dying moments, her father smiled because, after years of researching the existence of trolls and being mocked by many, he had finally demonstrated the truth about the existence of trolls to many people, including his only daughter. Just before he passed away, he uttered his last words, "Palace of the Trolls." Those last words stuck with Nora. The next day, Nora received news from Hull that the troll's last tracks from the previous night had returned to the valley where it had appeared before. Hull also received orders from the general to prepare an airstrike to bombard the valley. Before that, Andreas compared a troll drawing with Nora's book about trolls. From there, they deduced that trolls could roam both day and night. Nora also learned that trolls could only smell the blood of Christian people. Sorry, but that's what the movie says. In essence, trolls couldn't tolerate anything related to religious matters, including the sound of church bells. Nora knew all of this from myth books and her father's boiling notes. After concluding their discussion, Nora, along with Hull and Andreas, asked the general and the government to resist using unconventional means. The end of Nora's report was accompanied by the troll tracks that led to a recreational park. Shortly after the news, the presence of the troll frightened everyone, scattering them from the park. Nora, Andreas, Hull, and their troops flew in with church bells. They began flying around the troll while continuously ringing the bells. And indeed, the myth that they couldn't withstand the sound of church bells started to take effect as the troll began covering its ears made of stone. But another oddity occurred. The troll didn't attack as it had before when it saw Nora and her late father. Instead, the creature instantly stopped its rampage, saved a small child, and left the helicopter Nora was riding in. The media and various parts of the world were in a frenzy over the appearance of the troll. The media predicted that the troll would continue heading towards the densely populated capital of Oslo. Nora tried to convince the Prime Minister that she could find out why the troll was heading to Oslo first, and perhaps, after that, they could figure out a way to stop it. However, the Prime Minister disregarded Nora's wishes and chose to deploy all military combat capabilities to stop the troll. The general planned to create a barricade, and if the troll could still breach the brigade, the government would launch mass destruction missiles. Hearing this decision, of course, made Andreas furious, but the Prime Minister's decision was final. He would evacuate the city of Oslo and communicate the information through live media broadcasts. Nora, who had been dismissed from the military headquarters, left with Andreas, who had also chosen to follow Nora. During the journey, Nora read the myth book again and matched it with her late father's media notes at the end of the note pages. Nora found a written word, "Sending gatekeeper," which, as Andreas clarified, was a senior official living in the royal palace. And after connecting her late father's last sentence, "Palace of the Trolls," Nora decided to visit Sending at the royal palace. Upon arrival, they were immediately greeted by Sinding himself and were promptly invited into the palace. Without much preamble, Sinding took Nora and Andreas to the basement. Here, he explained that he had known Nora's late father closely because he was the one who had imprisoned her late father when he discovered another kingdom. Sinding also added that he intentionally built the royal palace above the other kingdom to cover up her late father's discovery. And by other kingdom, Sinding meant the Troll's royal palace, where the Troll King used to reside. Sinding then recounted that around the 1000s, the King of Norway had managed to annihilate all the Troll clans during a Christianization event in Norway. However, at that time, the King of Norway allowed one of the Troll King's children to live and imprisoned him in the Dover Mountains. After thousands of years in captivity, it turned out that the Troll King's child was still alive and accidentally got free, thanks to the underground railway project that would pass through the mountain. From this story, Nora concluded that the troll currently heading to Oslo was following its instinct, wanting to return to the Troll Kingdom. Eventually, Nora deliberately shone her ultraviolet light on the troll's bones, and it was visible that the bones turned into stone. This meant that her late father's stories to Nora were indeed true, that trolls could turn into stone when exposed to sunlight. Nora then realized the reason trolls could wake up during the day was due to being covered by cloudy weather. Meanwhile, in Oslo, the troll had reached the front line of the brigade. The general allowed all military forces to open fire with various weapons to prevent the troll from advancing further, but as we all know, no matter how big or how many firearms were used, they couldn't defeat the troll. The general and the prime minister, becoming more terrified, decided to drop mass destruction missiles on Oslo. Andreas, who had attended the meeting and learned about the missiles, immediately sought the help of a hacker at the central base to stop the missile activation. At the same time, Nora asked Hole for assistance in carrying out her plan. Hole, who had never wanted to destroy the city from the beginning, finally agreed to help Nora and Andreas, seeking assistance from some of his chosen troops. The thunderous steps of the troll, shaking the ground, became increasingly audible, along with the siren sounds of the impending missile strike. Hole had also prepared what Nora wanted, and she had brought a large chunk of bone using her car. Now, it was Nora and Andreas's turn to execute their plan, and the troll was already in front of them. Nora floored the gas pedal and successfully baited the troll, because the chunk Nora brought was the Troll King's bone. The troll immediately grabbed the bone, roaring in sorrow. This roar was also heard by Hole and his troops, and it was the signal for them to act. Nora managed to lure the troll to Hole's location, all while the missile countdown was still ongoing, and the general initiated the missile launch again. Nora's earlier plan was to have Hole prepare the ultraviolet light. They surrounded the immobilized troll and immediately shone the light on it. Realizing Hole's success along with his troops, the general once again canceled the missile strike. But this decision made one of the government officials furious, and he forcefully ordered the soldiers to drop the missile, without considering anyone or anything. However, Nora's concoction of Cetatron made her feel that her decision was wrong. She quickly cut off the power and foiled her own plan. Now Nora understood her late father's intention that the presence of trolls had never actually attacked humans. It was humans who posed a threat to the trolls themselves. Back then, trolls merely disliked the church bells that made their ears ring. Now that she had realized all of this, Nora tried to talk to the troll and asked it to return to the mountains. The troll, seeming to understand Nora's intention, could only remain silent. Unfortunately, the sky showed the dawn, the sunrise, illuminating the troll's entire body and turning it into ash. Nora had thought she would build a good relationship with humans, but instead, she had to accept the heartbreaking fate of the troll, and it all happened, willingly or not, for the betterment of humanity itself. Shortly after, officials, the general, and the prime minister visited them to offer their congratulations. Besides successfully eliminating all the trolls, Nora also managed to stop the mass destruction. At the end of the film, Andreas posed one question to Nora. "Are there still trolls left?" Nora just smiled in response. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next movie.